Hello again, everyone. Welcome back. So sorry about all of the technical difficulties from this morning. That was a little crazy. But the good news is we all got to see each other and hear each other's voices and do a little check-in alive together until my screen totally turned green and froze, which was, let's just say, a little funny. So, thank you so much for your patience as we work through all of these technical difficulties and figure this out. Google Meet was the recommended method from the district for us to get together and do live recordings. I'm going to experiment with some other ways to do that, and I'll just keep you posted and see what's going to work best for us there. But in the meantime, I'm going to record our lesson here with some voice directions and then send that out to all of you so that you have a good idea of what our lesson is all about today. So, as you know from Google Classroom, when you log on to Google Classroom, it usually brings you to this page where it says Stream. And Stream is kind of like a stack of papers on top of itself. So the best bet is for you to get into the habit of going to Google Classroom and then clicking on this button right here, the Classwork button. That page is much easier for me to organize the way Google Classroom is set up. So I will put at the top there our daily lessons and activities for each day. So for today, we tried our Google Class video meeting. That was a hoot. And then you have these slides here, which is what I'm going to walk you through. Any of the links or things that you might need, you can use and click inside this actual piece here and not inside of my video recording because my video recording doesn't have live links. So go to this one in order to get different activities there. Second, for the week, we have some math activities that I posted here for you to optionally work on. These are all review of the geometry vocabulary that we learned before school went online. So you can click in here. These are all optional practice activities for you to do just to refresh your brain on some of that vocab. And you don't need to do all of it today. You can take a whole week to work on those different sections. As a reminder, inside here, where it says the geometry lesson here, I gave you some password login username hints. Most of you will have the code username for almost everybody is your first initial and your last name, and then your password is your lunch code. However, Evan, Isla, Dylan, Dempsey, Elsa, Henry, Zach, and River have a 1 after their names. For example, Evan would be E. Crapsey 1 at Netherland, and then his password would be his lunch code. And for any kid who has a hyphenated last name like Oscar and Zach and Theo, you all have a unique username. So Oscar's is here, Zach's is here, and Theo's is here. Just wanted you all to have that little bit of a password login hint for yourselves right there for IXL. All right, great. So now back to our slides for today. First of all, we did our check-in together on the video, which was a total hoot. Then I'm going to save the pep talk video for later because that is also not loading with my mountain internet right now. And we're going to jump right into our literacy lesson and then talk in the end about reviewing the different steps that you guys get to do for today's lesson. So, right here, as I mentioned before, you guys can find lots of great things to read by going to this Sora app, and you want to try to read for about 20 to 30 minutes a day. All right, this is the fun part. So, today I'm going to read The Magic Hat aloud to you. We're going to use this book as a model text. And I really love this story. It's one of my favorites because the language that Mem Fox uses in the book is really great. Also, the illustrations make the story come to life. As I read, pay close attention to how the author uses language and look closely at the illustrations to see what's going on. Later, in a few days, we'll discuss what happens in the story, and then we're going to use this story as a model for writing our own magic object stories. Here comes the story. I have the book live for myself right here, but because you can't see me with the way today's video is working, I just don't seem to have enough internet force to get the video to work. I found the illustrations already recorded, so I'm going to voice text over it, and you will see the illustrations here. The Magic Hat by Mem Fox. One fine day from out of town, and without any warning at all, there appeared a magic hat. Oh, the magic hat, the magic hat. It moved like this, it moved like that. It spun through the air and over a road, and sat on the head of a warty old toad. Oh, the magic hat, the magic hat. It moved like this, it moved like that. It spun through the air like a bouncing balloon, and landed on the head of a big baboon. Oh, the magic hat, the magic hat. It moved like this, it moved like that. It spun through the air from way over there, and sat on the head of a sleepy old bear. Oh, the magic hat, the magic hat. It moved like this, it moved like that. It spun through the air, it's true, and sat on the head of a kangaroo. Oh, the magic hat, the magic hat. It moved like this, it moved like that. It spun through the air for 1.5 miles, and sat on the head of a lofty giraffe. Oh, and then, with a skip, and then with a hop, a wizard appeared with a sign that said, "Stop." So everyone stopped and stared in surprise at the wonderful wizard with sparkling eyes, who took from his beard with a nod and a wink a wand which he waved. And what do you think? The toad, the baboon, the bear, and the roo, and of course the giraffe, oh what a to-do, turned back into people, dazed and confused, watched by a crowd that was highly amused. While no one was looking, the wizard, meanwhile, skipped out of town with a mischievous smile. And of course, on his head was the fabulous hat that made all the magic wherever it sat. Yay! Awesome! So, the questions I want you to think about are: 1, what object in this story has magic? If we were doing our video recording, I would have you popcorn that out in our chat box, but go ahead and say it to yourself. Well, of course, it's the hat. And how does this object do magic? Think about that for a minute. Well, if we were on our live video, certainly you would jump in and say, that hat does magic by transforming people into animals. So, the characters in the story are transformed. How do you think the words and the illustrations make the story come to life? That you can replay the story and think about that one. So, what I would have liked for us to do together is think about how the author Mem Fox might have brainstormed this story and imagined the story before she ever wrote it? Well, I imagine that Mem Fox would have created a brain web, something like what you see here in the middle of your screen. And inside, she started by thinking, okay, the magical object that we're going to create this story about is a hat. And then from there, she would have perhaps spiked off into all of these different circles and thought about, oh, one character I'll take will be the very first one in the story, which is when the hat bounces through the air and lands on the head of a warty old toad. So she maybe would have thought of that here. The second one is when it bounces through the air and lands on the head of a person who turns into a baboon. Then she would have written baboon here. Then she transforms a person into a bear. And then she transforms a person into a kangaroo. And then a giraffe. And then her ending to her story is when the wizard with the magic hat transforms everyone back into the regular people who are dazed and confused, and then skips out of town with the magic on their head. So, those are the key events that happen in this story. I was hoping that we would have been able to create this together, but instead what we're going to do is next I would like you all to go around your house and explore, looking for any kind of an ordinary object that you could use as the center to your magical object story. Create on a piece of paper a brain web that looks like this, with the center as your object, and then think about how your story could develop. It's okay if you change your mind. Just take today to brainstorm what the central object will be in your magical story. And tomorrow, it will be fun for us to share out what object you have chosen. Then, once you have created this brain web, write in the middle the object that you have chosen right here. See that? You're going to write that down inside of your brain web and then brainstorm the different magical powers that this object will have. Like in the magic hat, the hat transformed regular people into animals. Your magical object can do something totally different than that. It is up to you. I'll just tell you now that I have chosen to write this story as well, and my brain web looks just like this, but I have written a boomerang inside the center of my brain web. And I'm going to write that story little by little. But please know, you guys know me as a teacher, and I chunk these fun projects into little bits and pieces. So for right now, you're not writing the whole story. You are simply brainstorming what object you would like to use that will become magical and brainstorming what kind of magic it is going to do. Then I would like you to go to step 4 here and start to draw 2 illustrations about what that magical object is doing, just to get your brain thinking about how this will look. You can get started on planning your story and doing your brain web, but you do not need to finish it. All I want you to do for today is to think about this story and be ready to share your initial ideas and illustrations with the class tomorrow. Sound good? All right. So, after planning out your story, you can do a little bit of IXL. Practice logging on to IXL and just playing around with those 3 sections about geometry and reviewing the geometry vocabulary. Then Today's a beautiful day. If you can go for a walk and look for some geometry shapes along the way, that would be lovely too. Now, it is time for our checkout. So, who can retell me the steps that you are going to do after this video is over? Hint, go back 2 slides so that you can figure this out. Right here. You're going to 1, choose the object that you'd like after walking around your house. Make a brain web. 2, write that object inside your brain web. And 3, decide what magical powers that object will have. And then 4, do some drawings and be ready to share out your very beginning ideas about your story. Just let the ideas sit in your head for a little bit today, and we'll talk about this more tomorrow. Awesome. Thanks so much, you guys. So today, do independently step 1, 2, 3, and 4. And tomorrow we'll see each other again, hopefully for a smoother video. And we'll get to share your ideas about your story. Finally, have a fun time getting outside and looking for geometry today. And if you want to, the district created this bingo board. If you'd like to bounce around on there, you may, but that is absolutely optional, and it's just there for you to be able to have some other places to go if you want to entertain yourself. Awesome. Thanks so much, everybody, and I hope you're having a wonderful time. Sorry again about the video being a little bumpy, and thank you so much for all your patience and your humor as we laugh through this whole crazy adventure. Have fun brainstorming your magical object stories, and I can't wait to see you tomorrow. Bye for now.